Whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people. Which car are we gonna take?
Happy Super Tuesday, America. Thank you for joining us on the Nikki Maduro Show. Myself, Kim McAllister, where, yes, we will talk about all things political. We'll throw in some pop culture and some nonsense as well. So, Kim, now did you fill out your ballot and mail it in, or are you turning it in today?
No, I have to turn it in today.
Okay.
I have some more research to do still on some state races and local races.
So I have my little pamphlet here.
Look at you go, little voter.
There was one, and I'm going to bring this up in a little bit, and I don't know if anybody, I mean, you guys should be. So my district, my assembly district, District 28, is mostly Santa Cruz. And then it kind of has like this little point where my neighborhood is included. And it was between a Democrat and a Republican. And here's the thing. This was a race in which, and again, you know, obviously during elections is when you really dig deep into some of these people. It was one of the races where I was like, should I vote for a Republican? And I'll tell you why. It's because some of the issues that the Republican candidate supported, I support. She's pro-life. Or not pro-life, pro-choice.
Okay.
You know, she hold on. Her name is Liz Lawler. I don't know if anybody knows Liz Lawler.
And what's she running for?
State Assembly, District 28.
Okay.
She's a pro-choice advocate, believes in women's rights. She believes in marriage equality. You know, she does want to fix the public education system, which I'm always...
What does that mean?
Exactly. I'm like, are we a voucher person or are we actually a support public schools
Does that mean school vouchers or what?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I was a little about that. And then, you know, one of the things that she was writing in her thing, and of course I watched the interviews that people do, but again, you can only get so much. Sometimes this stuff comes down to, you know, their record, obviously. She lost to Gail Pellerin last time, who's the current state assemblywoman. But this is her last paragraph. She's like, I'm dedicated to ending the autocracy in Sacramento. A vote for me is a vote for a more transparent and accountable government. I'm not trying to do like a free ad for her, but it is this question. Exactly, Spencer. I'm sick of one party rule here. There is this, and I had this going into this.
What's her name?
Liz Lawler is the Republican. Gail Pellerin is the incumbent. She's from Santa Cruz. And again, Gail is in the community that mainly she serves, right? Lawler isn't. She is from, hold on, I want to make sure I get this right. She's in Montessorino. So it's one of these things where I didn't fill out the bubble yet. Let's just say that. I have not filled out the bubble for this yet. But it's one of those questions of a check and balance on Democrats. Like, it's not as if, no freaking way. It's this question of, are we ever going to give anybody a chance that's not a Democrat in this? And can you be a moderate Republican and be that check on Democrats? So, I love that. Jess Lawler sounds like a strong wrestling name. Liz Lawler. Yeah.
It totally does.
But being pro-choice and a marriage equality Republican speaks volumes to me. But then I worry, is this just a load of crap? You know what I mean? Like, are you just trying to get the Democratic vote and then all of a sudden you're in office and you're going to pull some nonsense? The race that's still killing me, though, is Senate. Like, I'm sorry. Every time Steve Garvey's face pops up and the only thing they say is former baseball player, I'm just like, how does this make him qualified to fill the shoes of the late Dianne Feinstein? Like, in no way, shape, or form. Just because he has a friggin' R on the other side of his name, that's all Republicans apparently need. You don't need any experience. You don't need any qualifications. You're just a Republican with a name people recognize. It is So disappointing. And that's the problem, is Republicans suck at putting out candidates that are qualified. And that's why I was kind of torn about the Pellerin Lawler debate. I haven't filled out the bubble. I am leaning towards Pellerin. I'm just going to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, it's because the Republican Party, in my partisan opinion, you can't trust them. You can't trust them. They can't stand up to Trump. They can't stand up to lies. They can't freaking have a better candidate for the highest office in the land. But at the same time, I do want a checks and balances on the state of California. We're a gigantic state. Yeah, Jeff, that's my worry. All Republicans lie. I don't believe all Republicans lie. I just feel like moderate Republicans that Lawler might be, I don't trust, because when you get an ounce of power, what do you do with it? You take away reproductive freedom, women's health care, those sorts of things. It's just exactly, Phineas. You know, you stand up there in front of the nation. You say that Roe v. Wade is precedent as a Supreme Court nominee. And then the moment you're when you're on the court, you take away our rights. And not only that, you're a freaking woman to boot. Drives me nuts. So
I love Ballotpedia. And I'm looking at...
Oh, yeah.
I was looking at the two in comparison.
Right.
And I'm looking at Gail Pellerin, and she's got $406,000 in campaign contributions. Way more than your Lawler. Yeah. Right?
Well, she's also the incumbent, too. So
her top contributors are the California State Council of Laborers, California State Council of Service Employees Political Committee, Teachers Union, Carpenters Union, Service Employees International Union, Robert Hawley, which is interesting, the Nurses Association, Anheuser-Busch. This one is concerning. The California State Association of Electrical Workers.
Yeah. I mean,
so that's our Democrat.
I'm not knocking Pellerin. This is not to say that Pellerin's not qualified and shouldn't be reelected. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
What I am saying is I'm actually presented a choice that looks to be a compromise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just as I would look at Republicans and say, just because Steve Garvey has an R on the other side of his name doesn't mean you should vote for him. I don't want to do the same thing either on the other side. But the difference is Gail Pellerin is qualified. She has a record. She's done the job. She works with elections. Like, she's boosted, I think they said 13 of her bills have passed. Like, she's working for us. I'm not saying that. And again, this isn't to knock her. What it is, though, is the choice of, do we need to, kind of look at moderates a little bit closer? And because they have an R on their name, if they still support some of the issues that are very important to me, i.e. reproductive freedom, should I possibly give this person a second look? And that's all I'm saying. I haven't filled out the bubble. I'll be completely honest. My fear about what a Republican would do does, but this isn't like we're talking about the U.S. Senate, right? It's not like we're talking about a House race. We're talking about a state assembly race.
Yeah.
And it's a balance on what is one party rule in California. There is a difference there,
In early voting, people who've already turned in their ballots, Lawler's getting thumped. It's Pellerin, 68% of the vote.
Well, it's California for you.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of wanted to have the debate a little bit. Like, are we ever going to even consider moderate Republicans for state office? I'm not talking about, in Washington, D.C., because there are problems here, and it falls at the feet of Democrats, right? So we need some sort of compromise. We need at least some sort of push and pull and conversation, because if everyone is just going to rubber stamp any freaking idea, if it's someone with a D after their name, then who do we blame when things don't work out? We have to blame ourselves, right? I mean, that's just the truth. Now, I'm not saying the Republicans are going to be any better or that they have the magic wand to fix things. But what I am saying is sometimes you just need a little bit of a push and pull to be like, wait a minute, does it need to look like this? Do we need to fund it this way? And those sorts of things. And so that's why, even though, yes, I totally see it. There's a couple of, are there any races in your area that you've been torn about or like debating, or is it just easy peasy for you?
It's one of the issues is factory farming.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I don't know which way I'm going on that.
Okay, factory farming. Do you remember what you're hesitant about? Is it sort of the idea of the space that animals get to roam and those sorts of things and the logistics of it? That I don't have that on my ballot.
No, it's a specific to Sonoma County.
I figured as much.
And here's my problem is I know a lot of these ranchers, right? And the ranchers are against it. And the ranchers are a big part of the community I grew up in.
Right. Why are they against it? Is it just the finances of what they would have to do?
It's more, it's rules. It's it affects how much they can expand about what they do in their businesses, and a lot of them are not these big factory farms that they're made out to be.
Right.
You know, a lot of them are smaller family-owned ranches that are doing things right. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and these are the things that we have to factor in. And again, I don't know the bill, so I haven't read it. But, you know, the feasibility of some of these rules and regulations on what these farmers actually do day to day, right? I mean, obviously, I don't want animals mistreated. I don't want, because again, I watched that Netflix series. And if you see, you know, mass factory farms, it's not only gross for the animals and terrible for the animals, the food that comes out of it is gross. Like, it's just gross. So you don't want that. But at the same time, feeding the country, feeding the world in many cases does come with, for lack of a better term, breaking some eggs, right? So you have to factor all of those sorts of things in. So let me see. I'm looking at my ballot. Let me know in the comments, you guys. Was anything? Oh, the group running for Anna Eshoo seat. That's a good one. Now I have been okay. So Anna Eshoo seat. That's the one where my former mayor Sam Liccardo is running. Okay. Now sorry, Sam. I haven't been a huge Sam Liccardo fan. I'm not against everything that he did. I did feel like he was a bit beholden to Google. Not saying that's a bad thing given how much of a footprint Google has in my neck of the woods. Okay, but I just feel like some of the growth that has happened in San Jose specifically, maybe there needed to be a bit of a check on that. You know who I'm leaning towards, and I've been seeing her ads everywhere, and so it made me take a closer look. And I don't have the polling up, Kim, so maybe you can look at it. Julie Lycott Hames. Anybody? I don't know. I get all of her ads. I've gotten so many of them. I like what she stands for. I like her messaging.
What's she running for?
She's running for Anna Eshoo seat against Sam Liccardo and a bunch of other people. Evan Lowe. I really don't think she has a shot. I don't know the polling, though. I don't think that she has a shot. But here's the thing.
She gives TED Talks on how to raise successful kids.
Yeah, she's a parent. Like, there are things that she is, she's a woman. And I don't want to be sexist about it. I'm not just saying, oh, I'm only going to vote for women because they're women. But you know what? She's the only woman running. So I gave her a closer look. You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's see what the woman's ideas are. Let's see what perspective she could bring to the conversation. So again, that's another one that I haven't filled out the bubble in, but I'm giving Julie Lycott Hames another closer look because she keeps showing up on my ads, especially on Hulu. She's the one, like, she's biracial, and she's like, she's wearing like mom clothes, you know what I mean? Like mom jeans and a button down. Like, she's no fancy schmancy woman. Like, I feel like she's gonna go and get S done, right? Like, she's the mom, and that's why I like Katie Porter too. In addition to everything else that she's done,
she's certainly educated, Julie.
Yes,
she's got degrees from Stanford, Harvard Law, California College of the Arts.
Yeah.
Currently serving on the boards of the Black Women's Health Imperative, Narrative Magazine, and the Board of Trustees at the California College of the Arts.
Yeah.
She don't mess around.
She doesn't. And I like her. I like her ad campaign. She's another one of those, you know, we don't need another politician a la Katie Porter messaging. Liz says, I know nothing about her. She's the only female. That was my reason for voting for her.
That's funny.
You know, who's voting for the judges, right? Like, what do we know about these people, really?
She's a little touchy-feely.
So what?
Her thing is you log onto her website and it's like, I vote for humans, an invitation to grow deeper. I'm on a journey out of fear toward love. We all are. When we truly love ourselves, we become able to grow into who we are. We were always meant to be. We become able to uplift and assist others.
What do you want her to say, Kim? What do you want her to say? The same crap that men say? I'm going to go in there and I'm going to fight for. Everyone says the same crap. I actually give her a bit of a kudos for having a little different type of messaging. It's the same BS every freaking time.
I just don't need your crunchy granola Birkenstock wearing crap. Just
From
sorry.
the Petaluma resident, butter and eggs chick. I'm really kind of surprised that you
just
don't
tell
like the
me
crunchy.
I'm going to support your reproductive rights. I'm going to go in there. Here's what I believe. Do you believe in what I believe? Great. Here's what I'm going to uphold. Okay. I don't need your I'm on a journey toward love.
Well, I mean, I didn't see all of that.
Boring.
She helps people thrive. Oh my God, you're so mean. As a Black LGBTQ plus woman who has faced discrimination, I'll stand up to Donald Trump and the MAGA extremists who want to take away abortion, our vote, our books, and our right to love
exactly
who we
what
love
I need
and
to
be
hear.
who we are. There you go.
Vote for her. Yes. Sold.
No more crunchy, but that's what I'm saying. Like
leave that other crap out and just tell me that. That's all I needed.
Yeah, exactly. And Gordon says,
Trump, love your ovaries. Good.
There
Move
you
forward.
Go.
Yes.
Gordon's like, I voted for Feinstein, Boxer, and SU because they were Democrats and female. I just feel like let's give women a shot, right? More women a shot at seeing what they can bring to the table, what kind of perspective they can bring. So yeah,
I would think for the most part, I would think if women ruled the world, it would be such a better place. But then Lauren Boebert popped up, and what's her face green Marjorie Taylor popped up, and you're like, I guess that's not a universal truth.
It's not universal, and I feel like sometimes I feel like Boebert and MTG are the consequence of the influencer and kind of viral type of politician, right? I want to make headway. I want to, do all those sorts of things, but they don't actually do anything, right? They're just a name.
And then what about Miss I can see Russia from my house? I mean, come on.
Well, McCain, one of McCain's biggest mistakes was ever giving her any sort of credibility. And as we have come to find out, he didn't have much of a say on that. And again, it was the tokenism, right? A token woman. Let's just put her out there. Speaking of which, just because we're talking about tokenism, did you see this? And I'm going to bring up the pictures bigger because OMG. Did you see this picture? And again, tokenism. Have you seen this picture?
No.
It's a deep fake. This
of course it is
not a real picture.
There can't possibly be that many African American people that would support Trump.
Well, I mean, I don't know about the numbers, but this deep fake was created by a team at a conservative radio show in Florida, of course, that shows Trump smiling with his arms around a group of Black women. It's not the only one. Hold on. Let me show you another one. And it's so gross because again, like, what are we supposed to glean from this? That they have to create a fake photo for you to believe. Like, does anyone believe that Donald Trump is going to sit like that on the porch with a bunch of Black guys?
No.
Like, he's not going to sit like that. He's not going to. He would be standing up over them. Like, Donald Trump is very much. Remember, like, when he would go to the meeting with all the world leaders and he'd edge people out of the way so he could be first.
Yeah. Remember that?
Remember
that was horrible.
It was so bad.
Remember the handshakes where he'd squeeze the holy hell out of people's hands in a show of dominance?
He's such a child. But anyways, I just, the whole tokenism and the image and all of that to say, you guys, get out and vote on the Super Tuesday. I was watching ABC and they were saying the turnout for this probably is going to be lower than normal in a presidential year because we're not waiting really to see who's going to win the nomination. I mean, obviously the incumbent in Biden, but usually at this point, we're looking we have people looking at the numbers coming in. It's pretty much just going to be handed to Donald Trump. Unfortunately, the Republicans couldn't get it together to have a true race. It'll be interesting to see what, if any, Super Tuesday races Nikki Haley wins. But again, it's just a foregone conclusion at this point that it's going to be Trump and Biden. And if it's Trump and Biden, then a lot of people are like, I'm not going to vote, forgetting everything else in their freaking ballot, right? It's just ridiculous. Prop 1, all these other sorts of things are very, very important. So I urge you guys, you have to go out and vote. It really is important. It's just, it matters. It absolutely matters. Again, voting for Matt Mahan's back on my ballot. Voting for U.S. Senate, voting for all of these things matter. And then if you don't vote, Your opinion just, as far as politics, doesn't matter that much to me. It just doesn't. Like, if you don't even vote, then you want to leave it up to everyone else to make the decision. And to me, that means you don't care enough about democracy or the running of your city, state, country to do the bare minimum. And it's really easy. I'm sorry. With the mail-in ballots and sitting at home and how early they send them to you, if you tell me, oh, I forgot or I ran out of time, you're full of it. Like, you just don't care. So just say that. You just don't care. And that's stupid.
Well, you hear people will say, I'm just not political. I just don't do politics.
You are political by doing that. There is still voting or not voting is a statement. It is.
You mean what you're saying to me when you're saying I'm not political is that you don't care about every single thing that affects your life.
Yep.
That's what you're saying? Okay.
Yep, pretty much. So you want me to take care of you. You want me to make all of the decisions. I like to make the decisions for myself and my family and our interests. If you don't want to, then you don't get a bitch. That's all. I just hate getting into political arguments with people. And then you ask them who they voted for or how they voted on an issue. I'm like, ugh, they'll say what you just said. I'm not political. Well, then shut the F up. I don't even want to have a conversation with you about how the state is run or the country is run. If you can't even vote, like, your opinion doesn't mean anything to me then. Exactly, Trevor. If you don't vote, then you can't complain. That's
Pamela
the truth.
Would argue with your Lawler situation.
Oh, yes.
That a moderate Republican is a fantasy. And I will say that one of the things on her website is that she does say she is a moderate Republican, but she does want Republicans to take back control of a runaway Democratic supermajority.
I don't think Republicans would ever get control, but what I do want is a check. Like, I want there to have to be, okay, I don't want compromise on things like reproductive freedom. Like, there are some issues where I'm like, no, but fiscally on some of these bills that cost taxpayers about moving the state, let's just say, to all electric cars. You know what I mean? I want there to be a robust conversation about that. I want there to be a fiscally conservative person being like, wait. Because you guys know me, I'm a budgeter, right? Like, I would say that in my own household, I'm pretty conservative, but not statewide, right? But I want there to be a conversation. I don't want a rubber stamping. I want there to be like, okay, that didn't work, so now we have to pull back on this, or how is that? How are we going to pay for that? Those sorts of conversations need to happen. And if they don't, because Democrats know there's not going to be any pushback because there's no Republicans in charge, then I don't think there's any voter that thinks that that's the right way to do things. And so that's my concern, is that but I also understand why we're like this. We're like this because you can't trust Republicans in 2024. You can't trust Republicans to be a person of their word. You can't even trust a Republican to understand when you're being freaking lied to by the former president of the United States. So please forgive me if Democrats don't trust Republicans enough to give them a seat at the state table. It's because you hitched your ride to a freaking liar and you can't stand up to it. I don't trust Steve Garvey. I don't trust Steve Garvey at all. No. I'm a moderate Republican. I'm gonna obey the rights of Californians who want to protect abortion rights. No, you won't.
No, he doesn't even have a handle on policies. He doesn't know what he's doing.
He is so unqualified.
He's a really nice man, but when it comes to political positions, he's kind of a bumbling fool.
Yeah.
No offense.
Have somebody that's qualified. That's all I ask. If Steve Garvey had a political background, not just a name and an R after his name, and could actually debate policy, actually had a record to back up why we should put you in one of the most powerful seats, not just in the state, but in Washington, D.C., okay. But no, these Republicans can't find a qualified candidate if it killed them. Who said Steve Garvey is someone that is qualified to be on the U.S. Senate with no experience?
He was a really great baseball player. And you know what was interesting? He was on Mark Thompson's show the other day. And I was off, like I had clicked off to let Mark talk to him. And he brought up my name and Albert's name and was like, it's so nice to be on here with you and Kim and Albert and making everyone in the room feel special. He's good at that. But when asked about policy, when asked about things that really matter,
right,
and not just making me feel good because he said my name, right? Then he falls flat. And so he's a really nice man, and he knows how to work a crowd. And that's about where it ends.
Exactly. And that doesn't make you qualified to be on the U.S. Senate. I'm sorry. It just doesn't. It doesn't. And the fact that he is leading in some polls over Adam Schiff just shows me that Republican voters don't care about qualifications. Don't, at least the ones that are going to vote for Garvey. Why are you going to vote for Garvey? Just because he's a Republican? Can I put an R after a turtle and you'll vote for him? You know what I mean? Like, is that all it takes for you to be a U.S. Senator of one of the largest economies in the world? Steve Garvey? That's the best you can do? No, that's why I have no respect for that. It's just ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And but we'll see. We'll see who ends up in it. John Rothman, who's always on with us on Fridays, has said he does not like, kind of whoever gets the top 2 votes is in it. I think John would like to see a true race, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind if it was Schiff and Porter. I think Garvey is just not qualified. I don't even think that he should even be in the general election. I just don't. I'd like it to be Schiff and Porter. Let's have a true debate. Let's see what kind of different Democrat person can bring to the thing. And again, if it's any of the Democratic candidates to fill Feinstein's seat, we can't lose. But Garvey, no way. No freaking way. Did you also see this, though, yesterday? And I would have been out like a scout. MSNBC staffers scatter after bed bugs were found at the Manhattan headquarters ahead of their Super Tuesday coverage. Nope, you could not pay me enough. You could not pay me enough to continue to do that job. According to the Post, an unidentified insect, which I just laughed at the description, spotted Sunday in the revamped Studio 3A, which is home to special election coverage and the Rachel Maddow Show. That's at 30 Rock, obviously, in Midtown. Additional studios on the 3rd floor were shuttered out of an abundance of caution. Yeah, no. So if you watch MSNBC for your election night returns, they might be looking a little scattered because, there's pretty much bed bugs in the studio. So that'll keep you on your toes. All right, let's do some headlines. I do have some other big news to talk about, and then we'll switch it a little locally. I do want to talk about the San Francisco Giants manager, Bob Melvin, making a new requirement for players. I want to know what you guys think about that. And then Miami Beach is out with a commercial. And it's, normally when you do a commercial for your town or your city or whatever, it's like, hey, come visit. Nope. Miami Beach is doing the exact opposite. Miami Beach is trying to break up with spring break. And I just don't know if it's necessarily going to work. I'm going to show you the commercial because it's kind of harsh, and it's so Florida. It's so Florida. So we'll talk about all of that coming up, plus so much more. You guys, click the thumbs up button, show your support for the show, and as always, we are 100% crowd funded, and the show will not continue unless we can continue to fund it. And so we need you to support us through our Patreon. Just go to thenikkimadoroshow.com. We love our Adorables. You guys are so awesome. I love the emails and all the support that you give to myself and to Kim. So just go to thenikkimadoroshow.com. It's a great community. You can donate whatever you can afford one time a month, and we really do appreciate it. PayPal is also available, so just go to paypal.com, hit the send button, and put in the email address, thenikkimadoroshow@gmail.com. All of the links to all of our other socials, our newsletter, everything is in the show notes right under the more button of each and every show. So you can find it there. It's very easy and peasy. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, let's do some headlines now with Kim.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Maduro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
What's interesting is my cough is getting weird. It's like it's getting worse before it gets better. So if I have to mute for a second, that's what's happening.
She's doing. She's hawking a lung, people. There you go. Okay.
Today is, as you mentioned, my friend, Super Tuesday. It is the biggest day of the 2024 election nominating cycle. Results will be announced in 16 states and American Samoa. It is a big day for former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who so far has only won one Republican contest. That's in Washington, D.C. Former President Trump and President Biden are the favored frontrunners. Do you see what Trump was saying about Haley yesterday?
What?
About her win in D.C.? He said she's a bird brain for concentrating on D.C. because it doesn't have very many delegates. And then he went on to boast and brag and pat himself on the back about how he won in all the big states with the big delegate numbers.
Well, it is math, though. He is right. I will give this to Trump. He's not an idiot. He knows how this works. I mean, not that you shouldn't care about Washington, D.C., and not that Nikki Haley shouldn't want any delegates that she can get, but it's math. And if you don't understand that, then you will lose.
I just don't like the name calling. I don't like the calling.
I don't either.
He called a woman a bird brain. You know what?
I know. It's very sexist too.
It's totally sexist. When you look at who the idiot is, I mean, really? Okay.
Exactly.
Here's what got me this morning. I woke up and I clicked on, this shows you my addiction. I wake up and I think, first thing, I check my text, make sure everybody's all right, check my email, click on Facebook, make sure the world isn't falling apart.
And it was falling apart.
Log on to my news websites, make sure everything's on the up and up. And I click on Facebook and I think, and it says, we are unable to log you in. Mm-hmm. And, click here if you want to do this and click here if you want to have a password sent to you and whatever. And I can't log in. And I think, oh, I got hacked. Someone commandeered my Facebook page. That's it for me.
Yep, exactly.
No, it turns out Facebook and Instagram appear to be back up now after the Meta platforms experienced an outage. Users that were attempting to log on to any of Meta's social media sites today were seeing error messages. Other platforms impacted included Threads and Facebook Messenger, so all the Meta social media. Yeah, I think it's back up and running now, but
and thank you to Lady Beatrice for the $5 donation. Has anyone heard about the Facebook outage? Yes.
Yeah.
I hope no one is being affected. Oh, and vote blue. Yeah, some people were thinking, and I think in the comments you guys were mentioning it as well. Oh, this might have to do with the election today, trying to tamp down. The truth of the matter is, I know I was just laundry listing a couple of things that I'm still on the fence about.
Sure.
I think the big races, though. Come on now.
Yeah.
You're not hemming and hawing between Biden and Trump. Nobody is hemming and hawing between Biden and Trump. So let's just stop.
What was interesting is in the most recent polling for California Senate seat, federal Senate seat, 17% of voters were undecided. And that's a pretty big deal when you're looking at those particular candidates.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they're not decided between Porter and Schiff and Lee. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think by now you know whether you're a Trump voter or a Biden voter, right?
I like Pamela's comment here. It would be great if we had no parties. People would run on their own merits, no PACs, no super PACs. The federal government would finance the candidates with a small stipend. The Electoral College is abolished. Yeah, it would be nice. On KGO, I apologize, I forget his name, but the 100% voting where everyone had to vote. I spoke to the gentleman behind the book and the idea, and he says basically everyone has to vote. You're over 18, you have to vote.
Right.
And so because everyone has to vote and they make it really easy, there's none of this kind of, I'm going to pander to this party or that party to get out their vote because those people aren't going to vote type of thing. Everyone, and then there'd be like a small fine that you can offset or whatever if you can't get to it. But they make it really, really easy. And I think that, and the truth of the matter is, it benefits Democrats. When more people vote, Democrats win. It just happens that way.
Let me just throw this out. So if you say, okay, well, we have to vote just like we have to pay our taxes. It's a must do, right?
It's a must do, yes.
What about the argument, the age-old argument, that there are some people who shouldn't vote?
They're too stupid to vote.
There are people that haven't done any research, the people that haven't taken the time to look into any issues, that are uneducated on all of the matters that sit before them on the ballot.
Right.
Maybe it's okay those people don't vote.
I would say I agree with you. Okay, I agree.
I'm not saying I agree with that. I'm raising the thought.
Test to vote because you know what? Some people are really engaged in politics and read all of the issues and they vote a way that I completely disagree with. So I feel like if everybody votes, it kind of dilutes all of it. You know what I mean? It's just like, this is America. You know what? There's
Yeah.
some idiots in America. There's idiots that do stupid crap, right? Like ghost riding the whip and doing all stupid stuff. So it just, everybody should vote. Everybody should vote. Even if you're a moron, you should vote. I don't feel like there's so many more morons than politically educated people. And so I feel like if everybody voted, then candidates would have to appeal to everybody, because there wouldn't be this nonsense like Pamela was mentioning of the PACs and the super PACs and the dark money and all of that sort of stuff. Or at least it would help in that sense.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So you remember the case of the mother of the boy in Michigan who opened fire at the high school? Crumbly, Jennifer Crumbly.
Yeah. Ethan Crumbly was his name. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the jury selection starts today on the trial of the dad.
I am loving this. Hold the parents accountable.
That's right. The father of this school shooter charged with involuntary manslaughter in Michigan, James Crumbly, is facing 4 charges in the deaths of students at the hands of his son Ethan at Oxford High School in November of 2021. The shooter's mother, Jennifer, was already convicted last month on the same charges that her husband faces.
I mean, it's way past time when we have children killing children with guns that they have acquired either by their parents or through their parents, or so, like an unlocked gun. It is way past time where parents are not facing some of the consequences. And I know for good parents who you're like, I couldn't have seen this coming, that could be devastating for you. But what are you saying? That you shouldn't be responsible for the murders that were committed because you weren't keeping a close eye on a weapon you had within your home? No, thank you.
Not just had within our home,
Gave.
bought it for him for Christmas.
Exactly.
Merry Christmas.
There you go. It's crazy.
We know you're mentally unstable, but have
here
a weapon.
You go. Exactly. Yeah. Crazy.
What has President Biden done for you? Let me answer the
question.
question.
Me lately? Dun, dun, dun. Okay.
Credit card late fees are now capped at $8. Part of the larger initiative by President Biden's administration to get rid of junk fees.
Good.
The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau estimates this new regulation will save families more than $10 billion a year.
You know, I remember when this was coming out at first and people were like, this is what Biden chooses to focus on. It's not the only thing, but these are the issues that matter to people. These are the issues that get your blood boiling. When you realize that you've been facing these freaking fees, and when you try to, like, for instance, have credit card junk fees, airline junk fees, these are the nuts and bolts of life that piss people off. So yeah, I want Biden doing something about it, and I applaud him.
For a lot of people, it's debt that's holding them down.
Thank you.
And when you get massive late fees, and I don't know how much they were, but I would imagine
$30. I want to say
30?
Maybe. I want to say something like that, like for each instance, right? And then you know, with your I know overdraft fees are another thing that get people, which I never quite understand. It's like they should just not approve the charge and go back to that, because if I didn't. Look, if I didn't have money to pay for X, Y, and Z, I sure as hell ain't gonna have money now that you've taken $30 more out of my account. So, you know, it's crazy. It doesn't help people that are already having a hard time financially.
No. 4 former Twitter executives are suing Elon Musk and the social media company over unpaid severance pay. The group that includes Twitter's former CEO, CFO, head of legal, and general counsel argue they are owed $128 million from Musk and the X Corporation. In the lawsuit, the former executives claim Musk took revenge against them after being backed into buying Twitter for $44 billion by repeatedly refusing to honor other clear contractual commitments.
Yeah, these guys, it's not as if they don't have the money either. Like, come on now.
Hey, if it says he has to pay, he has to pay.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
Cough it up where it's due, even if you're angry about it. A new bill before the state assembly aims to expand first-time homebuyer benefits to undocumented immigrants. The bill would change the language of the existing down payment assistance program called Dream for All and allow undocumented immigrants living in California to use this program. California State Assembly member Joaquin Arambula is the author of this assembly bill. He says his bill is about fairness. San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond says this is not a good idea, and California State Assembly has until September of 2024 to pass AB 1840.
All right, what do you think? I don't like it. I'm just going to go on record and say I don't like it. And there's a reason why I don't like it is because I want, and it's not the us versus them type of thing. If you're going to have a program like this, I want you to show me that one, we can afford to expand it to more people. That's all. Like, it doesn't matter. The undocumented, I get that's the kind of talking point and the thing. But look, we should have more programs for people to be able to afford homes. And we don't. A lot of people can't afford homes. So instead of adding more people to a program that's not addressing the people we already have, let's fix that first. That's why I don't like it.
So I think that you could, okay, people are going to come here, right? And we need them as part of the workforce. We know that.
Right.
And so we have to come to terms with the fact that we need immigrants, right? We have a faulty system of how many we need and how many are documented and whatnot. I feel like you can make the argument that people are here and we cannot leave people hurting in the street, and so we need to provide some type of medical assistance. So having them be able to qualify for Medi-Cal benefits,
and that's fine, absolutely.
To me, makes sense. They're here. We can't leave people, sick and bleeding and whatnot.
Right.
Got it. I'm on board with treating people as human beings. But when it comes to benefits for citizens, like first-time homebuyers assistance and these things, I think you need to play by the rules. And you need to be documented. Now, some would say, well, that will keep people that are undocumented in a financially precarious position.
A lot of us are in a financially precarious place, and we are citizens of the United
just don't
States.
think that you should be able to be here in an undocumented, and I will say it is against the law way, and qualify for everything that citizens qualify for. I just don't think so.
No, and I think that it's, what I will also say? I think the process of becoming a citizen should come with some benefits beyond just being a citizen of the United States. So if I was working to become a United States citizen, and I'd be like, oh my God, and once I become a citizen, look at all of these things I now qualify for. And so it entices people to become citizens through our process. So we know who you are, which also needs to be improved. I'm not saying that the system is working well, but I'm just saying, yes, look, when you become a U.S. citizen, you get to qualify for first-time homebuyer assistance. You get to qualify for X, Y, and Z. That's great. But until enough American citizens can get help buying a home and affording a home, undocumented people can just rent. I rent. A lot of people rent. So it's not as if we're denying them health care and leaving them bleeding in the street, right? What I'm saying is, if that's a huge benefit to get first-time home buyer assistance, and that is a huge benefit that you get once you become an American citizen.
I feel like we treat people in California, at least, and for the most part, in a humane, kind way.
Yeah. But
that doesn't mean that you get to walk away with bundles of money that the California taxpayers have put towards certain things. Yeah.
And they're taxpayers too. Undocumented people pay taxes, right? And oftentimes don't get a lot of the benefits from it. So I'm not saying that they pay sales tax, they pay income. They do this, right? I mean, there's a way in which they're doing this. I know some get paid under the table. I'm not saying that. But if you're going to go through a program in which your name is on a document for something like a home, you better be a citizen. I'm sorry.
Zalma has a good point. An undocumented person who has saved and prospered enough to afford a home is the type of person you want to at least start the process of naturalization or citizenship.
Exactly. And this is a carrot, right? This is a carrot for people. It's like, look, you definitely want to go through the process. You don't want to hide in the shadows. You don't want to do any of those things, because once you come out of the shadows and once you go through the process of becoming a United States citizen, you know what you get? X, Y, and Z that includes first-time homebuyer. You could be a homebuyer in the United States of America, but you have to go through the process. I think that's fair.
Chris, I disagree with what you're saying here. It should be illegal, he writes, to rent to illegals.
So then they end up on the streets in tents? Come on, Chris. They're here. They're here.
And on a personal level, then enjoy paying 5,000 times more for everything at the grocery store.
Yeah, like we need to fix the migrant situation. I mean,
enjoy our restaurants closing down. Like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Our society won't work without them. And so, we have to at least treat them humanely and respectfully, and that means they need a place to live and they need medical care.
Yeah,
Their kids need to be educated. Like, these are the basics.
Right.
I'm not talking about the extras with the fringe and the cherries on top like home ownership. I'm talking about the basics, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's so true. I mean, we're human beings. And I'm sorry, Chris, if you're the type of person where if someone's bleeding on the street, you want to see their, their green card before you help them, fine. But I don't think a lot of people are like that. Pamela, thank you so much for the $5
Pamela.
super sticker.
We love
thank
Pamela.
you guys. I love the
Thank
fact that you
you.
guys are supporting us and loving the conversation. So thank you.
Next story. California is sending members of our National Guard to Texas to help in wildfire efforts.
Oh,
we know how to do this.
How nice of us.
Aren't we nice?
We don't just sit back in Texas and talk crap about California the whole time it burns.
No,
Oh, how
cool.
nice. Okay, great.
We be cool people over here.
Yeah, right?
The airborne teams are part of an effort to fight the massive wildfires in the Panhandle. California Governor Gavin Newsom saying, in times of crisis, Americans stand together. The wildfires become the largest in Texas state history. And I don't doubt that in our times of wildfire crisis, that people from Texas came here to help us.
Yeah, but it's just like the narrative that comes from some people in Texas drowns out the assistance from first responders who know when to heed the call, right? It's just like, look, California burning, you should rake your forests, blah, blah, blah. It's freaking annoying.
I'm a little excited about this, and it's because of you.
What?
You made me watch this show. And so here I am, now excited about House of the Dragon Season 2.
Yes.
Set to debut on HBO in June. The launch month for the Game of Thrones spin-off series was revealed by Warner Brothers Discovery yesterday. No exact date has been confirmed. We just know June. The show takes place 200 years before the events of the original series and is based on George R.R. Martin's book Fire and Blood.
It's so good. But you know what else was announced today?
Oh, The Last of Us?
No. So House of Dragons is on HBO, or Max is what it's called now.
Mm-hmm.
Max is stopping the password sharing.
Oh.
Guess who benefits?
Are you a password sharer?
They keep kicking me off of all the platforms I don't want to pay for, Kim.
I
It's
hear you.
really annoying. Hey, Joe Biden, you want to fix that? Like, it sucks. I can't keep paying for all of these things. They tell us when we're growing up to share. And then when I finally want to share or have someone share something with me that actually benefits me financially, they say no. So yeah, it sucks. I don't know if I'm going to, I can't pay for another streaming service. I
shared
can't.
one with you. I won't tell you which one. I hope it still works.
I don't know. You'll have to text me. I have so many things on. Do you? I don't think though. I don't think I still share it with you then.
Oh,
I think all of my
you
things
must have
I've logged
forgotten the
into.
password.
I
All
think
right.
so.
Okay.
Or I signed up on my own probably, but I didn't tell you guys that I signed up for Netflix, did I?
You haven't had Netflix this whole time?
I was sharing it, and then they kicked me off, and so I bought the ads. Oh, it's so annoying. But I'm not paying $15. So I pay the $7 and there's ads. It is so annoying.
It's the new way.
Beyond annoying. But I'm not giving Netflix 15. I can't. I only downloaded it because I wanted to watch something on Netflix. And it wasn't even worth it, but now everyone's all hooked on it. I'm going to give it a month and we'll see. But yeah, I'm watching like Peacock, for instance. I'm really into Traitors right now. If anybody watches Traitors on Peacock, season 2 is so much fun. I like that show. I might give up Peacock after this show. I don't know. What else? I mean, I have Prime Video. I have Apple TV. I have too much streaming. It's too much.
I have the ones that came with my phone service.
Yes.
And Netflix.
I think Peacock. Do you have Verizon?
Yeah.
Yeah, you get Peacock with Verizon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Apple TV, I have an Apple phone and they give it to you.
I can't figure out why Verizon would give me these things for free.
It's because once the thing is over, then they charge you. It's not forever, I don't think.
Oh.
I don't think it's forever.
Good thing you told me that. I have to start paying attention.
Definitely check that. I don't think we get Peacock for free, or maybe we get a discount or something like that. I don't know. Look into it. Once you start getting charged for it, then you'll know. But yeah, too much. But I love HBO. I might have to just go. And yeah, Traitors is so much fun, Vilma. I love Traitors. It's with Alan Cummings. Oh, he's so funny. But yeah, it's fun.
Let's talk about Caitlin Clark.
Let's talk about Caitlin Clark. She's awesome.
Iowa women's basketball superstar Caitlin Clark continues to draw millions of television viewers. Nearly 3.4 million people tuned into Fox to watch Caitlin Clark beat Pete Maravich's all-time NCAA scoring record against Ohio State on Sunday. More people watched her final regular season game than the Boston Celtics Golden State Warriors game on ABC the very same day.
You know, and I know we talked about this yesterday, but the amount of people that are coming out of the woodwork to add an asterisk to what she's done is so disappointing. You know what I mean? It's so freaking disappointing. Oh my God. Pete was so much better, blah, blah. And I'm like, you guys just can't take a win, right? You just can't give, and I'll say it, you can't give a woman a win. It's not the same. It's not this. It's so freaking annoying. Congratulations to Caitlin Clark. You are freaking awesome, and don't let anybody tell you any differently. Oh, Kim's coughing. But yeah, I mean, the fact that I was on Facebook, which hopefully is not out anymore. No, it's okay. No, I was on Facebook, and there was this picture of Caitlin Clark, and it's Pete. What's his last name?
Maravich. Yeah.
Maravich. There was a picture of him handing her a crown, like an old picture of him.
I saw it.
You saw that, right? And
I love that.
The comments were pissing me off. It's like, oh, she did this, but it's not the same. He did it in this many years, and the rules were this, that. Shut up. Just give her the win. It's so annoying.
I love that picture. I wish I could find it. I saw it once and rolled past it, and I've been looking for it for a couple of days.
It's a really good picture, yeah.
I really liked it. But look at her. I mean, she's boss.
Yeah, dude, she's awesome. And she worked hard for it, so stop.
Look at those muscles. Holy mackerel.
Oh, yeah.
You have to think, though, and to your earlier comment when I was coughing, that she's probably, because she's successful and at the top of her game, she's probably heard all this before.
Oh,
and she probably expected it when she broke that record. She's like, here it comes.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. I mean, it's just one of those things where, as a woman, you're used to people discounting your accomplishments or your qualifications or your seat at the table or any of those things, because obviously there had to be some special accommodation for all the blood, sweat, and tears you had getting to whatever goal you wanted to reach. I mean, it just couldn't be that you're a talented person, let alone a woman. It's frustrating. It's disappointing. And I hate seeing the men in the comments. They're just, not all of you guys, but some of them are it's just disappointing. It really is.
Yeah. Taylor Swift is urging fans to vote on Super Tuesday.
It is.
Don't you love it? It's not that she's saying vote for this person or that person.
Nope.
She's just saying, let's go vote.
Yep.
On her Instagram story, Swift discussed the presidential contests across the United States, and in her home state of Tennessee, she wrote, I wanted to remind you guys to vote the people who most represent you into power.
Exactly.
The singer encouraged fans to check their polling locations, linking to vote.org. Love it.
Speaking of Taylor Swift, did you see who she's related to?
Emily Dickinson.
Emily Dickinson. She is
goodness.
Cousins with Emily Dickinson, which explains, I love it. People like, oh, that explains how she's such a good songwriter, but it really kind of does in a way. I don't know.
There's something so weird about that.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, I don't know if you saw the side-by-side pictures of them.
Yeah.
But I have to put it up because you kind of see them side by side and you compare their faces and their features, right?
Yeah, because they both descend from a 17th century English immigrant, Swift's 9th great-grandfather and Dickinson's 6th great-grandfather, who was an early settler of Windsor, Connecticut. Taylor Swift's ancestors remained in Connecticut for 6 generations until her part of the family settled in Pennsylvania, where they married into the Swift family line.
So obviously very different looking women, but are they?
Right.
Because, I mean, the times have changed, the makeup is different, what have you. Emily Dickinson looks kind of pinched, right?
Right.
But if you look at things like their chin, they're kind of shorter chin.
Yeah, I mean.
And their nose. and maybe the shape of face.
Yeah, maybe.
Even the eyebrows. Like, there's a lot of similarities there. And the fact that they're both amazing with words and putting words together. And I thought that was a fascinating turn of events.
You know, and obviously I know Emily Dickinson. I've read obviously some of her poems in my lifetime, but I'm not a historian about her. I did not know that none of her poems were published during her lifetime. That's crazy to me. You know what I mean? That is so, so crazy to me. I just feel like it's amazing that they're related. And the fact that, you know, what is it? The Tortured Poet Society or something is her next album's name. It just seems to go right along like the Tortured, Poets Department.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just kind of cool. Oh my God, Deb! Thank you so much for the $50. Love your show, my sisters. Love you, Deb. Giving Kim our triple threat, hardest working woman in showbiz. Yes,
Look
indeed.
At Deb go.
Look at Deb go. Thank you, Deb. That is so, so generous of you. Thank you.
Yeah.
But love the news of Taylor Swift. That was just too funny.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting.
That was really interesting, right? Totally interesting.
As Deb has shown us, this show is crowdfunded.
It is.
It is all about you guys loving the show and supporting it. So thank you to everyone who can and does. And find us at thenickymaduroshow.com. It is thenickymaduroshow.com.
There it is.
That is, sorry, you can carry on. This is the place to find the Patreon and the PayPal link, thenickymaduroshow.com. This is the place to show your love for the Nikki Maduro Show.
We love you guys. Thank you.
And you know what I have to say? Like, if you can't afford to, don't. Because we don't want to ever make anyone feel like they have to that can't. And we love to have you all here regardless. But if you can, awesome.
Please
we love
do.
that too.
Absolutely.
I'm Kim McAllister. This is the Nikki Maduro Show.
Yeah, and also another thank you to Pamela for the $5 donation. Woo! And the Lady Beatrice with the $5 donation talking about the Facebook outage. We honestly, though, we really appreciate you all being here so, so very much. And yeah, if you can donate to the show, we appreciate it. There was another thing I wanted to throw in before we switch gears. Did you see that the Supreme Court has, because you were talking about Texas with the fires, you see the Supreme Court has temporarily frozen enforcement of Texas's immigration law, where they say you can arrest and detain anybody entering the country illegally. Alito is the one that actually put the administrative hold. Now, it only blocks the law from taking effect until March 13th. That's so that they can review the case. Now, according to CNN, without intervention, it would have actually gone into effect on the morning of March 10th. The Justice Department said that would profoundly alter the status quo that's existed in the United States in the context of immigration for almost 150 years. The bill raised concerns among immigration advocates that increased racial profiling as well as detentions and attempted deportations would happen by the state of Texas, where 40% of people there are Latino. Like, it's going to be a show your papers type of thing. That's basically what people are worried about. It's like, if I'm too brown and I'm too close to the border, apparently, and it's not even too close to the border, it could be hundreds of miles away from the border, people are talking about, in which you can kind of be detained and possibly deported and held in, I don't know, whatever kind of hold they would have. So we will keep an eye on that.
Just because you look like you're an
just because you
immigrant.
look like it.
So this is another one of these cases being stopped while brown, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, and again, in Texas, 40% are Latino. Do you know what that would do to society, where everyone is just going to be giving everyone else the evil eye? You ever watch that? What?
Didn't they already try that in Arizona?
Well, yes, but Arizona had, what was that guy's name? Oh, Sheriff
Joe Arpaio.
Arpaio, I knew it was with an A. Yeah, Sheriff Joe Arpaio. You know what I mean? I mean, he's like laying down the law on all sorts, from criminals. He put them in like pink jumpsuits, remember? So all sorts of things. Now, I will say this: Arizona, Texas, border states, I understand that they have to do something, but sometimes I feel like they go way too down the racist path.
Oh, yeah.
Not feasible without accusing citizens of being, undocumented. And that's stupid. It's absolutely dumb.
I mean, what if you look like an immigrant?
Well, I would say that in some parts of the summer when my skin gets extremely dark, people might.
What if
You
I
know?
look like an immigrant?
Right. Well, I mean, but you would come from the northern border, Kim, and that
Oh.
border we don't seem to care about
We
that
don't care
much.
about that?
No, we don't seem to care
I'm a
about
little
that
too
one.
white to get stopped?
Yeah,
Got
exactly.
it. Okay.
Exactly. One more
Lucky
thing.
me.
Giants manager Bob Melvin is now requiring the entire team to stand for the national anthem.
And shouldn't they have been required to do this the whole time?
Well, apparently, this is a new policy because after the police killing of George Floyd, the Gabe Kapler did not take the field. It was kind of this thing that all the cameras were watching, sort of thing, right? Again, the whole national anthem at the beginning of games, the flyovers that are paid for by taxpayers, the patriotism / nationalism, I'm not so married to, let's just say.
Yeah.
But I do understand Bob Melvin's point. He's like, look, this is not politics. It's not talking about shootings. I just want to give the perception that we're out there ready to play. You want your team ready to play, and I want the other team to notice it too. It's as simple as that. You don't want any other distractions. He told USA Today it has nothing to do with whatever happened in the past. It's just something I embrace. And he just doesn't want it to be an issue anymore. It's not something that I have a problem with. I don't have a problem with people standing. I don't have a problem with people sitting. I don't have a problem with people kneeling.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, fine.
It should be your personal choice.
It should be your choice. But I will also say that if during the course of your job, right, it's required, then do it. And if you don't want to do it, if you want to stay in the back, it does become a distraction. Now, I have no problem if they didn't want to take the field. I have no problem if some of the players want to take a knee. I don't think that it should be that big of a deal. I never did. I think that we live in a country in which you have the right to express your viewpoint at any point. But if your boss, and if it's included in like the time you're getting paid, right? If like the moment your foot is on the field, you're getting paid and you're at work, and it's like, okay, we go out there and we stand there, then just stand there, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the reaction from all the players is. I do think that if there's a player that doesn't want to do it, I don't think that he should be punished for it. You know what I mean? Like, just don't take the field then. I don't know. It's much ado about nothing, in my opinion. Not that the issue is not important, but the outrage is just so crazy to me. It's as if people, when the national anthem is on television, that everyone is silent and stands all around America. That's not true. We know that's not true. We know there's people in the kitchen. We know people are going to the bathroom. We know people are chit-chatting during the whole entire thing. So stop acting like this is a anthem handed down by God that everyone needs to obey. Let's just stop already.
I just got the rare text from Julia that doesn't ask me to bring something to school.
Okay.
She's on a field trip today for her broadcast journalism class.
Okay.
To KQED in San Francisco. Where
that's really cool.
Students that came up with a story and are working hard to put the story together have the opportunity, if they succeed, to have their story broadcast on KQED.
That's cool.
So they're at KQED today talking to all the people. And she texted me, "You would have liked it here. It's pretty cool. It's really fancy."
It is fancy. I remember when they moved, we have a couple colleagues actually that work for KQED, and they post on social media all the new digs and what have you. And so, it's really fancy. But of course, I think there was a little bit of a drama or a controversy because right after they moved, NPR, which National Public Radio, KQED is part of that family, they were having like financial issues, or there was some sort of controversy with, because obviously they're public radio. They depend on donors, and then all the donor money was coming, and then everybody was getting these fancy gigs, and then they were laying off people, and they're like, why do we have fancy gigs if we can't have the reporters and that sort of thing? But I like KQED.
I like KQED as well, but I have to say that I know that it's fancy, and she's right about that. Yeah. But it bothers me that it's a donor-funded organization, that they stop every 5 seconds to do another pledge drive.
Right.
It feels to me like if you are donor-funded, you better save that money for a rainy day to make sure that you are in existence as long as humanly possible, right? Do you really need to spend oodles and oodles of dollars on the state of the art? They have swag vending machines where you can buy the KQED.
Yeah, but they're also in the Bay Area. I mean,
No,
I'm sure.
I'm sorry. KGO was not fancy.
But we had when I go to KCBS, not that it's fancy, but they have the automatic coffee maker that will make you a latte or a mocha or something like that. I mean, you pay for it once. People need their coffee. Like, what are you investing in? I'll say this, and this is as a sibling of someone that has worked in the nonprofit world for a very long time. Like, it's pretty much been his entire career.
Right.
If you want an organization run so that they can, just as you said, been around or be around for decades, you need competent people. Now, I'm not saying you need to pay them buku bucks or anything like that, but the investments that you do make should be worth it. I would much rather have, as KQED did, invest in up-to-date, will last a long time equipment than hand-me-down crap that's going to break down because we know what can happen then. So again, like it's kind of like, do we make the big investment now because it's going to last for decades, or do we piecemeal it and then it might cost us more when things break down or go obsolete or what have you? So it's one of those balances.
I'm talking about a state-of-the-art building. I'm talking about the fanciest of fancy. This place is nicer than any place you or I have ever worked. I'm just saying that. And we work for some major market radio stations.
Yeah, but we work for profit market stations.
That's true. They weren't putting money into us. They were putting money into their pocket. I get it.
Exactly.
But there's something, I just feel like, okay, say you buy this big old building, right? And it's the state-of-the-art fancy building. And then in 20 years, you say, well, we just don't have enough money to continue, offering our news service, so we're eliminating our news department. What?
Yeah, and I agree with you on that. Like, don't eliminate people for products, right? Like,
I guess I just wonder about the priorities. That's all. Right.
Well, and I think that that's a valid criticism. I think that I would, as an employee there, especially, I would question, like, do we need, and we know from for-profits, all of a sudden we're in a fancy building and you put all these TVs on the wall and everything, and then a heartbeat later, all these people get laid off. How about we not have as many televisions and I get to keep my job, right?
Yeah.
So I get that, but again, must be nice.
Exactly. Like that whole redoing of the KGO newsroom right before the station shut down.
Happens. It
like,
always
what?
Happens.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I hope Julie has a good time. I can't wait to hear about everything that she was able to experience there, because that's pretty cool. Well, since you just brought up your kid, let me bring up my kid. And hold on, I'm going to yell for him because he's home today. Okay, so he texts me like a half hour ago, and he's like, if you're going to talk about it on your show, I want to come and tell my side.
Okay.
So I don't know what, there's only one side. This isn't a complicated story. My son is home today. I'm going to tell the story, or do you want to tell the story? You tell the story. Okay. So.
Hi, Dylan.
They said hi. Hi. Okay, so my son, he never stays home. So for him to stay home, I don't know if you could tell, my son's face is injured. So I'm cleaning the house yesterday before he gets home from school. And apparently he texted me a picture that I did not receive. Okay. And all of a sudden I get a phone call. And at first, because I'm a mom, I put the phone in my ear, and then I notice that it's FaceTime. And I look at my phone, and there is my son. His whole entire mouth is covered in blood, and he is spitting out blood. What? Okay. And I'm like, what happened? And he crashed his bicycle. Now, my son wears a helmet. He's okay, but he hit the handlebars with his mouth. Okay. So it's pretty bad in there. But how the accident happened really pisses me off. Okay. Now, I will say this. My son was crossing the street within a crosswalk, and he was trying to get up on to the sidewalk, correct? Now, again, I know that bicycles should be in the bike lane, but on this particular street, he's wanted to be on the sidewalk, correct? As he's trying to go up the ramp, there is a mom coming down the opposite way. Did she have a stroller? Yeah. She had a stroller. And so Dylan's like, oh, shoot. And it was kind of like at the last moment, I guess they noticed each other. And so he dodges it, and he crashes his bike, and he busts his mouth open. That's not the problem. The problem for me is mom, stroller. should have acted differently. She walks by my son, who is bleeding from his mouth, and goes, "Do you need help?" And tell me what she said, Dylan.
She said, "Do you need help?" I said, "Yes," very clearly, and she just walked away.
She just She left my son bleeding. And my son had time to call me. My husband had to go get him and his bike and all those sorts of things. So my question is, what mom leaves her child or leaves a child bleeding on the sidewalk by himself and doesn't help? So I'm just really, really upset that something like that in my neighborhood. I'm sorry, she's walking around, and I was so worried. You can't tell, but my son's already knocked out his front tooth, at least half of it. And so I don't know, Kim. I mean, if that happened to your kid and a mom was there and didn't help, wouldn't you be upset?
Yes. And even if your son said, "No, I don't need help,"
I would have stayed.
I'm still not leaving.
He's bleeding.
I'm not
from his
leaving
mouth.
until the parents come.
I know.
I'm not leaving. I'm saying, let's call your mom.
Right. Exactly.
I'm saying, is there anybody, how far away do you live? Is there anybody that we can come to call to come get you? I don't even care if the kid's like, I'm fine. I'm staying there and I'm looking at you and thinking, I don't know if you're fine, sir.
Exactly.
Let's fix this up.
Hey, let me make sure that you can get a hold of a parent. Let me make sure you can get a hold of somebody that can get you home. Let me just get you, he wasn't in the street. But again, I understand these things happen, and people are saying you should walk through the crosswalk. This wasn't a lighted crosswalk. It was like one of the street, kind of crosswalks by businesses. Mm-hmm. So there was no light there. But again, it's just, I don't even care if it was completely my son's fault, the accident, which I think it was a mutual thing.
It's a child.
It's a child.
Yeah.
It's a child.
So you might think to yourself, dumb kid, what are you doing riding on the sidewalk? But you still figure out a way to help the child.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, that's not cool.
And there's no dedicated bike lane on this stretch of roadway. And I don't care.
I wonder if she was worried about getting sued or something.
By a freaking 12-year-old kid?
Well, by the family. Like if the mom came and then there was some altercation or something. I don't know.
I have zero respect for any mother. And she was obviously a mother. I have zero respect for any mother that leaves a bleeding child on the side of the road. I'm sorry. No. I was really pissed. But anyways, poor kid. I told him to keep icing it yesterday. Woke up this morning. I mean, and his lip was just so much bigger. It's better now because I've been making him ice it all the time. So he gets to have a home day. And so I call the school to tell them. Are you going to stay for this? Okay. I tell the school, I call and I leave a message at the attendance line. And I guess it sounded kind of bad. I was like, my son's had an accident. So he's just going to be home kind of nursing it. And then they called me back. They're like, I don't know how to put this in the kind of the list.
Description.
They're like in the description, like he had an accident. I was like, oh, he had a bike crash. He hit the handlebar. She's like, oh, he needs a day. And I'm like, yes, exactly. Yeah. He needed a day.
He needed a day for that lip to swelling to go down.
I know, my little boy right there. So everyone.
Does he get video games and fun stuff today?
Well, he's in my bed. He's in my bed, watching Abbott Elementary or whatever the hell he's watching. Everyone's saying big lips are attractive features. So there you go. That's exactly what yesterday when he came home, he looked like a woman. Not a woman, but a person that got lip injections. You know what I mean? You know how it's always swollen, like right here. His lips were just so puckered the whole entire time. But
is he feeling okay?
I mean, he feels okay, but his mouth hurts. He can't really eat. You know what I mean? So I had to get him Jamba Juice, and he's gonna get spoiled. Okay, I love you.
Love you.
Go back to bed. Bye. So yeah, it's one of those things where I was beside myself, so pissed off that you would just leave a kid there bleeding, and he was bleeding.
What she was thinking. God. I mean, maybe she misheard him, but still.
Yeah. No. Well, no, if he crashed enough, I'm sorry. I would have gotten off to the side, obviously made sure that we were in a safe area and looked at the kid and been like, are you okay? I mean, he has a helmet. He's on a bike crash. I get what you're saying. Like maybe I would sue. I would never sue somebody unless there was something like egregious that you did to my son. Bicycle accidents happen. Thank God he was wearing a helmet. And you're absolutely right. And I did have a conversation with them. Bicycles are not supposed to be on the sidewalk for safety reasons for both. There was no dedicated bike lane in this particular area. So I get it. But yeah, it does matter, but it doesn't matter. As a mom, you still check. You know what I'm saying? Like you just still check. So that just really made me angry. And yeah, we're talking about bike safety in this household. Okay, let's move on to the story that has been cracking me up. Miami Beach, have you heard the news, is breaking up with spring break. They are out with this commercial that I'm going to play for you right now. And it is, hold on, let me make sure I have the right one up. It is so freaking funny. And it's so Florida, in my opinion, in the verbiage that they're using. Here we go. I'm going to play it for you.
Hey, we need to talk.
This isn't working anymore.
And it's not us. It's you. We just want different things.
Our idea of a good time is relaxing on the beach.
Hitting up a spa or checking out a new restaurant.
You just want to get drunk in public and ignore laws.
Do you even remember what happened last March? That was our breaking point. So we're breaking up with you.
And don't try to apologize and come crawling back. This isn't safe. So we're done.
And just so you know, we're serious.
This March, you can expect things like curfews, bag checks, and restricted beach access,
DUI checkpoints, $100 parking, and strong police enforcement for drug possession and violence.
Whatever it takes, because it's time to move on.
Maybe we can talk when you're done with your spring break phase, but until then.
What do you think about that? I mean, that is a pretty harsh message to give to people, right?
Love it. Don't try to come crawling back either. I love the breakup message. That's really clever.
We're breaking up with you. $100 parking. You know, the DUI checkpoints and everything I'm fine with, but they are making it like we do not want 20-somethings.
Oh,
That's
Spencer
basically
doesn't
what it
like
is.
This commercial.
Why don't you
really
like
clever.
it? Why don't you like it, Spencer? I thought it'd be a little mixed from people. Part of me, okay, this is the snarky part of me where it's like, screw you, Florida. Go to Florida and have, make all these problems. But at the same time, I get it. I wouldn't want to go to Miami Beach and deal with these drunken, crazy people that don't want to follow the rules, that are doing, terrible things. I would hate it. On the other hand, what if you already bought tickets for spring break to Miami Beach and you're just seeing this commercial? Sandy says, Nikki, Palm Springs did something similar a few years back. There used to be a huge spring break destination, but now they no longer allow it. It's a pretty harsh message. Randy says, I get it too. Miami is doing what they think they need to do. Do you think it'll work though? This year is what I'm talking about. This year, maybe, next year after it's the consequences, but it still could be a problem.
I think people that are affected maybe aren't news watchers, maybe aren't seeing that commercial.
Yeah,
but when they come to spring break, and when they get the fines, and when they realize the laws are different, and when they realize there's a crackdown on public drunkenness, nudity, drugs in public, what have you, they'll get it really quickly.
I just wonder if you take away something like Miami Beach is a party town. It is. It has been. I know you're trying to change your image, but how long does it take to change the image without impacting some of the businesses that are like, well, I kind of like some of it. I just don't like what it devolves into. Does that make sense? Like, it's kind of when you have a house party, and then all of a sudden the clock strikes 11 and you're like, can you get the hell out of my house now? Right? Like, I wanted you here during normal hours, but now we've reached a point where you've overstayed your welcome. And I feel like that's part of it. The businesses may want to see people come, go to the restaurants, go to the bars during the day, but when they don't know when to go home, or they get so drunk that they're misbehaving, having fights, overwhelming the beaches, not listening to the rules, then that becomes a problem. And I just don't know if this year it's going to resonate with people quick enough. I could still imagine them still having a bit of a problem. Now, spring break for my kids, but they're like in high school, I think it's next month, right? So it's still a month out, but they're saying starting in March, they're going to start these enforcements mid-March. But I guess in Miami, the peak spring break season is the 2 weekends in mid-March. So the first and the 3rd and the 4th or whatever. They'll see officers working 12-hour shifts, enforcing open container and noise laws, all the curfews like you heard. Commissioners also voted to allow the city to suspend sidewalk cafes on Ocean Drive, which I guess is the famous spot. They'll shut down parking garages and parking lots. Towing fees in March will double to $516. So if they don't get it this year, they may next year.
Yeah.
Apparently there were 2 fatal shootings and 488 arrests last year by Miami Beach police. Now, the other problem is, this is Miami Beach. People may still have their trips planned.
Mm-hmm.
They're just going to move a little bit down, right? So I can imagine if I was like bordering Miami Beach, right? If I was just a little bit next to it, now all of a sudden I'm going to get the overflow of people that want to party still in Miami and can't because now these curfews and everything else are impacting there. So I never was one of those people that did spring break anywhere as a young adult. I never did that. We went to Mexico one time when I was much younger, but I think that was during the summer. I don't believe it was like spring break. I was just always one of those people that turned on MTV's spring break and was like, oh, I'd love to do that. And then never did. So yeah, I don't know. I think it might be. Mara says, I think it's for their safety. Drunk, drugged, and entitled kids are a recipe for tragedy. Would you let your I won't even say high school. I guess if they're in college.
Well, a lot of times it's seniors, right? In between college and so these are 17, 18-year-old
people thinking that they're going to go drink and party. At some point, though, once they turn 18, it's not like you could stop your child from going there.
There's some bad stuff that happens. I remember my sister went to Mexico. I think it was Cancun or Puerto Vallarta.
Okay.
For senior trip. It was after she graduated from high school.
Right.
And of course, they're all drinking and dancing on the bars. And, there's the sexy dance contest and all the stuff that the resorts or the bars put on for what are essentially kids, right? But at the end of the thing, one of the girls suffered a sexual assault.
Oh, gosh.
To the point where her parents had to come to Mexico and get her.
Oh, no.
So I feel like, these kids go down there and they start drinking and it's this like chaos and lawlessness and anything could happen. You have to be really careful.
Well, nowadays with drugs and getting roofied and fentanyl and all those sorts of things, it's scary. TM says they shut down Chico's Halloween. It used to be off the hook. When I went to Chico, and I only went for 1 year, you're absolutely right. It was off the hook in the 90s. I think you're also correct. I think I've been back once since I graduated, since I left Chico, and it's definitely not the same. Jim says, Nikki, you can stop your child from going to these spring break trips as a parent. Stop paying for it. I mean, yeah, but if they're an adult is what I'm saying. If they're over 18 and they're paying for it themselves and they're not living under your roof and you're not kind of pulling away any sort of assistance from them for not going. But I wouldn't want either of my children to go to a spring break. I mean, even though girls, like Kim mentioned, you can get roofied, you could get assaulted or something like that. Yeah. Sometimes a bunch of boys hanging out is a dangerous cocktail, and being unsafe, drinking and driving, doing dangerous stunts, all sorts of things. And of course there's always the drug aspect of it all. It can be really dangerous. So Mars says, from a New York Times article from 2003, during spring break, which attracts many Black visitors to the city, whose resident population is largely white. Oh, I was wondering what was going on in this conversation about it. That's an interesting take. Okay, let's be respectful when we have this conversation, but I can understand if that is true. Okay. And again, I haven't read the article. I'm literally seeing this right now. If it's true, which I can imagine it is, right? I can imagine that people from all over the country decide to go to Miami Beach, and it's of different ethnicities or race that people that live there often see. There could be some racial profiling happening. Absolutely, there can. I will always admit that there can be racial profiling because there's always implicit bias. So
here's what happened when we started talking about this. I saw this comment.
Chris is saying they're trying to tell Black people not to come to Miami, which might be falling in line with Mars's article.
It's possible,
comment.
but I responded, and there was something earlier said about Asian people.
Okay.
And I feel like it's generalities. It could be a bunch of white girls, snorting cocaine in the bathroom and going crazy and being loud and raucous and what have you.
Right.
It doesn't have to be Black people. It doesn't have to be Asian people. It doesn't have to be any certain group of people.
Right.
So I responded, let's keep racism out of the chat.
Right.
Don't generalize about one group of people. I feel that's not fair.
Yeah.
And so that's why people are responding that way. That's why, because I asked to please let's keep it.
But I will say this, and again, I haven't read the article, but it's from April of last year. If there's a New York Times article that was looking at the racial makeup of those that were arrested by Miami Beach police, then I can understand why that conversation regarding, let's just say, racial profiling. Because what you say is true. Generalities are true, Kim. I will also say that I do believe in certain neighborhoods and certain communities, a white girl doing cocaine in the bathroom and a Black guy smoking a joint on the street or in the bathroom,
they're treated
differently. Two totally different responses.
That's right.
So we have to be, it's just the truth. It's that sometimes implicit or explicit bias can make its way into law enforcement. But I do think that this message from Miami Beach is for everybody.
Well, I mean,
across the board. I really don't think they want anybody there.
You don't know. It could be the Black girl is going to a restaurant and spending her money and being, respectful, whatever. And it could be the white girl flashing her boobs on the beach and, drugged up and drunked up and whatever.
Exactly.
You don't know. And
but who draws the attention is what
let's
of law
not generalize,
enforcement.
right? Yeah. That's what I'm saying. All are welcome here. And what I don't want is for anyone to feel like in the chat, especially that you're not welcome, that somehow that we condone whatever is said, and that's not necessarily the case.
And I will also say I do think that Miami Beach's message, and I'll be completely honest, I think it's for a specific age group more than race or ethnicity.
Right.
I think they're done with late teens to 20-year-olds. I will even say maybe even 30-year-olds that are trying to stay young. I think they're just done with drunken a-holes causing a ruckus 24/7. I think that if it was 12 noon on the beach, people are drinking and being loud, that's one thing. I think that when it's drinking all day, drinking and driving, getting in fights, not listening to law enforcement, not moving on, that's a problem. It really, really is. Liz says my daughter went to Cabo but didn't stay where all the kids were staying. She stayed nearby at a much nicer hotel. Ended up not hanging out with all the drunk seniors where one kid died.
Right. It can be, these spring breaks, the level of partying is,
it's crazy.
Off the charts. Yeah.
I remember I watched one video. I don't know if you guys saw this. This was several years ago where a bunch of, I want to say they were either senior, I think they were high schoolers, but seniors. They wanted to go to Mexico for their senior trip, after they graduated in between going to college. And their moms actually went too. And stayed 10 feet behind them the whole time.
Is that a little helicoptery?
Well, they did a whole TikTok video. I think it was more influencery than anything else. I think they planned this whole thing. But it was an interesting point. They're like, our moms are here. They're leaving us alone. They were still dancing and drinking where they could or whatever. But there was somebody there watching out for them. I don't think it is totally helicoptery. But I get it, right? It's well, I'm just watching. When you have Natalie Holloway's news, in the headlines, no freaking way am I letting my kid go by themselves to another country where they do allow them to drink at their age.
Right.
And maybe this is their first trip by themselves. You have to know your kid. You have to know your kid. And, and Kim, the scariest part of it, not saying that we're sending our kids, but that our kids are 3 years. 3 years.
So
that just makes my blood run cold.
My sister, who also worked as a reporter for a time, so both of us have a news background, right?
Right.
And you see the worst of the worst come across your desk.
You do.
If you do this, this could happen. If you do this, this could happen. This kid had this happen, and this kid had this happen. So we used to talk about having a file. Like when those stories come out, print them out, put them in your file. Like, have the titles of the file, like, bike accident, car accident, teen drivers, drinking and driving, well, all the things. So when these things come up in their lives, spring break, you whip out the stories and go,
there you go.
Here's
Look what
can
happens.
happen to you. Right?
Yep. Exactly. And it's true, but then you get the rolling of the it's not gonna happen to me, Mom.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay, sure, right, until it does, kid. All right.
Deidre says, my daughter and her friends went to Maui for high school graduation with no supervision, and they were fine.
I feel like Maui is just like safer for some reason. Yeah, a little more chill, like a little more aloha type of thing, instead of like beer bongs and I don't know, like luau's versus.
I also went to Maui as a teen and had a good time. I went to Oahu with a bunch of senior girls as well.
That's fun.
And I probably had no business doing that. There was drinking going on. We were, picking up on guys at the hotel across the way.
I mean,
come on now.
I have no problem with young adults having fun as long as they're responsible. And unfortunately, in this day and age, and I was, because I went to Mexico for my senior trip and it was mayhem. I mean, we were responsible. But now, if that was my kid, no effing way. I mean, it's just, again, with the drugs and the roofing and these young men that are predators. I'm sorry, I'm not making a generality. I'm saying there are men out there that are predators, and they for some reason are not taught that you can't just touch women and drug women. The amount of young girls in high school and in college that casually say, oh yes, I've been roofied before, and it's just a common thing, blows my mind. And I never knew anybody when I was in high school, or even that I knew of in college, that got roofied. And it's a different age and it's a different world out there. And parenting has to adjust. Just because you felt safe going when you were a young adult doesn't mean it's still safe for your kids nowadays.
So would you rather just say no, or would you rather go on the trip?
I would rather go on the trip.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I feel like I would be fun. Like, I mean, I'm like, let's just look out for each other. Let me be a parent nearby. I feel like my daughter would want to go on a vacation. I feel like I would leave enough rope. I would leave enough rope for you to feel like you're having an experience. Like, I'm not going to be like attached to you, but I'm going to be watching you. Like, that's
what if you see her, drinking up at a bar?
I mean, it matters her age. It matters what we're doing. Like, if we're in Mexico, in all honesty, it would matter the situation. Like, I am not going to let my daughter get blacked out drunk at a bar and be like, well, I'm watching her. That's ridiculous.
Right.
You know what I mean? But if we're going to go poolside and she's allowed to drink because it's legal and I'm keeping an eye on her, I would let her have a beverage at a Mexico pool at lunchtime with food. Yeah, absolutely. I would let her do that. Because again, why is she going to Mexico? I mean, obviously for everything else, but if it's reasonable and it's legal, I'm not going to let my child break the law in Mexico. You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think there's a balance. I think that you can have a balance there. And I would feel much better if I had eyes on her. That's not going to happen though. Like, I just don't think I'm going to, I just don't think that my daughter is going to go on vacation. In all honesty, I just don't think that she's going to go on vacation.
And I think you have to, again, know your kids. Some kids have like, okay, I have two different children.
Right.
And so while one is younger than the other, I can tell they're different kids.
Right.
Julia is mature. She's the life of the party, but she's got a really good head on her shoulders.
Right.
Right. She knows the dangers. Jacob is an impulse kid. Impulse control is an issue.
He's younger. Give your little boy a break.
At 18 years old, a Julia at 18 is going to be way different than a Jacob at 18.
Yeah,
way different.
Maybe.
Like, I'll be afraid to let him out of my sight. At 16, one will be ready to drive. One will not be ready to drive. I can see it already.
You know that.
100% I know it. I know it in my soul. Absolutely.
Poor Jacob. Jacob's not going to be able to get anything from mama.
I love him, but I feel like I need to protect him from myself or from himself for longer. You know what I mean?
I know. I hear ya. I hear ya.
He's got a little more cooking to do before he's ready to go free.
It's so funny that you mentioned the boys versus girls because, girls always kind of get a bad rap. Oh my God, the girl's going to get sexually assaulted. She's going to be blacked out, drunk. There was this one picture that I saw on Instagram not too long ago. And the person just writes, I hope that whatever girl has the air tag attached to her shirt got home safely. Like somebody had put an air tag on her tank top.
Not a bad idea. Not a bad idea.
But then it was so visible. It's like, I'm going to make it home. You're going to know exactly where I'm at. It's pretty funny. I was like, okay.
Funny. We were talking about air tags yesterday at my house because I found a bassoon camp. Julia plays the bassoon.
Nice.
But it's in Little Switzerland, North Carolina.
Ooh, that's a little far.
It's a 10-day bassoon camp. And it's only like, for 10 days, I thought this was cheap. Although when you add in airfare, it's probably not affordable for us. But it's like $900 for a 10-day bassoon camp in North Carolina.
With food and everything and lodging and
all
everything
food,
covered.
all lodging paid for.
No, that's not bad.
No, it isn't. It turns out it's for only 18 and over.
Oh.
But we're talking about traveling with your bassoon, and she is taking a trip with the high school band to New York City. They have a bunch of places they're going to play, and they've been fundraising all year for this trip and whatever. And she's worried about the bassoon is a very expensive instrument, and she's worried about it getting stolen. So she said, there's a little pocket in the bottom of the actual instrument itself.
Yep.
Not just the bag where you would find an air tag, but the boot of the bassoon. And she wants to put an air tag in the bassoon itself.
That makes sense.
So if the bassoon gets ripped off, which, by the way, the bassoons are like between $7,000 and $50,000 instruments. Okay?
Oh my God.
So if this bassoon gets stolen, and that's what I was trying to tell her, if you're at the airport in New York and your bassoon gets stolen, I can't afford to replace that instrument. Like I can't, we can't.
Yeah.
So you better keep a hold of that thing.
Yeah.
And she's like, let's put an air tag in it. Okay.
Done.
Let's
I
do
would.
it.
I
Yeah.
would absolutely would. That's a very good idea. That's fun though. Bassoon camp. Yeah. I found my son, when we went to the Dickens Fair during Christmas, they had a fencing area where him and his friends were fencing. And so I asked him just a couple days ago, I'm like, are there any camps or something you want to do this summer? Because now's the time for me to like start looking and booking them. And he's like, I want to kind of do that sword thing that we did at the Dickens Fair. And so he's going to take,
fencing?
it's like a fencing. Yeah.
Yay!
So he's going to do like a 3-day thing to see if he likes it. And then there's like a week long all day type of camp for the summertime. I'm like, let's do the 3-day. And I think is it next month? Yeah. Cause he's in the play right now. So we have to wait till the play is over. And so he's going to do that and see if he likes it. But yeah, just trying different things. Fencing. I only know one other kid, one of my old roommate's son. He does fencing and he's really good because he's been doing it for a long time.
Yeah.
So, and there's not a place, it's a place not too far from my house. So
that's cool.
It's definitely time to start
What a
signing
great
up for those
skill.
camp. I know. Isn't that fun?
There's a band camp in Santa Rosa, but it's thousands and thousands of dollars.
They can be so
It's like bassoon camp in North Carolina is a lot cheaper than that. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
But, yeah. She can't go to that one anyway.
Can you insure the bassoon? Not the baboon. The bassoon if it's not yours?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Maybe there's like a renter thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can do that. That's something to look into.
It's a school thing. I mean, just for the trip. You know what I mean? Like, and I just get yeah. So, I'm loving that people like take fencing. Eric says fencing's awesome. I fenced on the varsity team in high school. I didn't even know there was. I didn't even know.
He must have gone to a fancy high school that had fencing.
Yeah, I was like, I don't.
Like, was there also a ski club and golf?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He said Eric says fencing equipment's expensive. So the camp that he's going to obviously provides all of that because I don't think they'd make people. It does provide it. That says fencing's a great sport. If he likes acting, it will also come in handy. And he does like acting. He's my little actor. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that sort of thing. I feel like we had a couple more headlines. Did you have any headlines? Anything new? Because I have a couple headlines. If you
Super Tuesday, Facebook, Instagram backup. What do we have?
You have Opil on there?
There was a, here's one.
Okay.
There was a deadly explosion at a business last night in Michigan. And listen to this. It was fueled by butane canisters and more than 100,000 vape pens.
What?
The blast happened.
Was it a shipment of them?
The blast happened at Select Distributors north of Detroit A 19-year-old man struck in the head about a quarter mile from the scene by metal debris later died from his injuries.
Oh my God.
Big explosion, like vape pens and butane canisters, and it was a big one. All that.
I'm so glad my husband doesn't vape anymore. That's awful.
The next one I have to tell you is that we're getting more snow, the Sierra Nevada. That's coming in. So
yes.
Right after we're slammed by a blizzard, we got 10.5 feet of snow over a 4-day period. Now winter storm warnings are in effect again today for higher elevations from southern Oregon down to Redding. And that's basically the big deal.
Okay, I have one that I want to ask you about. And I feel like I'm happy about this, but I want to know how you would feel. Mm-hmm. The first over-the-counter birth control pill is going to be available in the United States. It's called the O pill.
The O pill, yeah.
And people can get it without a prescription, just like your child can go into Walgreens and get Tylenol. They can walk into Walgreens and get the O pill. It's actually affordable. A 1-month supply costs $20, 3 months $50. So you get a deal, and you should get the deal because you should be on it. How would you feel? And I feel like my daughter would tell me, right, if she was going to go on birth control. I feel like, how would you feel if your child didn't tell you that they were going to go to Walgreens and get the O pill and put themselves on birth control?
I would feel sad that she didn't trust me enough to tell me.
Yeah.
And I would question what I was doing.
Right. You would take it personally.
And then I would try to make it right. And I would try to figure out what I'm doing wrong, that the lines of communication weren't open. And also, at the same time, I would feel very proud that she was responsible enough to take care of herself and her health and her future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's my whole thing. Like everything you said, I agree with. I'd be like, why didn't you tell me? I would have gone with you. It would have been fine. We could have gone over, all these sorts of things. There is another thing that I'm concerned about, and not to get like too female about it. But there's a point where, your daughters need to go to the gynecologist, right? Yeah. And so those things still need to happen. I remember there was a girl at my high school who never went. Like, she just never went. She was on birth control. She was having sex. Yeah. And I was like, when it's time, when you're due for your, checkup, your oil change, as I used to call it. She was like, oh no, I don't do that. She's like, no way are they doing that to me. And I'm like, and so that would be my concern. It's like, okay, well, if you're going to be sexually active, and of course, once you hit a certain age, that's just that's par for the course. You know what I mean? And so that would be my other concern is, are we doing all the other womanly responsibilities for your health other than just popping a pill in your mouth? Now, this is a mini pill. And so it contains a single synthetic hormone, progestin, and it carries fewer side effects than the estrogen progestin pills. And again, it's going to be offered nationwide starting later this month.
I have the same concerns about you. I feel like if you're old enough to have sex, you're old enough to be on the pill, then you're old enough to go see the gynecologist.
Yeah. And I'm not saying that's fun. Believe me, I remember when I was a young girl going for the first couple of times.
But we all have to have it checked out. We all have to have the pipes looked at. So
it sucks so bad, though. I mean, I never want to go back, so...
Would I rather have her protect herself rather than, because usually if there's a gynecological appointment, it's through your parents' insurance, right? Yes, exactly. Unless you're going to Planned Parenthood or somewhere else.
Right.
So would I rather, if she's too uncomfortable to come to me and say, you know what, I need to go on something. And I'll say, oh, well, I guess it's time to go see the gyno. Yeah. Let's make an appointment. If she's too uncomfortable for that, at least she's doing this.
Yeah. I mean, I will just say, and I actually was talking to my son about this the other day. I was saying, whatever you want to do, and obviously we're talking about sex. It's like, if you can't have an open conversation about it, you're not ready for it. Like, if you, especially not just with your mom, which I know can be embarrassing just for a myriad of reasons, but if the person that you're going to have a relationship or a sexual relationship with, you can't have an open conversation about sex with, it feels uncomfortable, it feels silly, it feels embarrassing, that is your cue that you are not ready to do it. Because you're going to have a much more awkward conversation if there's a pregnancy or an STD or something like that. And so we definitely need to kind of monitor that. But I love the fact that they're making birth control pills easier at a time where women are losing reproductive freedom and choice, deciding that I want to be sexually active and I still don't want to have a baby. This is what's needed because Republicans just don't seem to get it. that women are sexual creatures and just like men want to have sex and don't want a baby on the other end of it.
We're not supposed to be, though.
I guess not.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah.
We're nice little ladies. We don't have needs or wants or desires.
That's not true.
Don't say that.
Deidre said OBGYNs now say not to get your first pap smear until you're 21.
Really? Wonder
that
why.
seems really late to me.
Tell me more, Deidre.
Deidre, I've never heard that.
Because we have 14, 15-year-olds, so we need the scoop on that.
Like, I just feel like this is what I will say. I'm not going to say the first. I'm saying this. If you are going to be sexually active, you need to go to the gynecologist.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the rule. Because, not to be graphic, but if something's going up there, it needs to include the doctor. That's just that's it. It needs to include a checkup.
It doesn't take the place of a condom because there's still STDs out there in the world.
Exactly.
However, double protection never hurt anybody.
I have never heard of the age of 21. I would say like upper teens, right?
Yeah.
Like that are considering, anything lower than that, I feel like is traumatic. Like for me, like I
went at 17 was my first time that I went to the gynecologist.
Somewhere around there. Like still in high school, but just kind of making sure everything's okay. And then there's people that unfortunately have issues down there that has nothing to do with sex, right? Maybe it's cysts or whatever, or something wrong with your menstrual cycle. And I know we're getting really female here and that's okay. But it just means that you have to get these regular checkups. Women's healthcare, reproductive healthcare is healthcare. It just is. It's our bodies. We need to do it. And it's an open conversation that needs to be had with boys and girls alike. That's all.
Julia just sent me a picture of she's at a radio studio. She's in front of a microphone.
Yeah.
And it said recording right now. And these are nice microphones, let me tell you.
Look at Kim McAllister. She is just not letting KQED go. She's like, that's fancier than I ever had.
Maybe I should apply for a job there. I don't know.
Yeah. I remember when our colleague got her job there. It's quite a process. It's like getting a government job, it seems like. Jeez Louise.
I don't fit in there. My personality's not right for that station.
Oh, I think you would fit right in there.
They're too serious.
Kidding?
I'm way too fun for that.
Well,
no, I'm not saying it. I remember when I did traffic and you have to change your personality depending on what station you were on, right?
Okay.
So for KQED, it's very, this is it. There's an accident on Gulf Street.
Yes.
If you're on Van Ness, stay to the right. There's an accident here.
Right.
This report is sponsored by
Joe McConnell. Joe McConnell was perfect at it.
He completely chipped. Totally.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I could pull it off. It's fine, but that's not who I really am. My personality was a match for KGO.
Right.
Total match.
Me too.
I don't even know if I match KCBS. There's no goofing around. There's no sexual innuendo. There's no funny jokes.
Especially. Exactly.
No, see, that's not my personality either. So wherever it is that I work now, I'd have to change myself.
No, well, so when I go to KCBS, and they're I will say this, the people are really, really nice.
Yeah.
And I think that reputation, because they are like that on air, it's not necessarily off air. Do they play around in the newsroom as much as I remember KGO did? Not necessarily, but then again, I'm there in the freaking morning. Nobody's like running on 100 at 4 a.m. Right? And then by the time I leave, like I get off air, I cut a story and I'm out. You know what I mean? So I don't want to judge the entire place as fun. I will say this. Like stations that do things for their employees beyond pizza parties and things like that, which KCBS/Odyssey does do. It's nice. I just don't partake in a lot of it because of the hours in which I work.
Yeah.
So I think that I think that you would fit in at KQED. I think that but it's definitely a different environment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But just to talk just briefly, because the show is ending, about radio. For-profit and nonprofit radio are two totally different things. It's a different beast. Yeah. If you work at KQED or any NPR station, you have to do the drives. You have to do, the hustling for money, which we're used to doing here because we're 100% crowdfunded. Yeah. But I definitely think that they have a good time. They bring in amazing guests. They have awesome shows. Not to do a commercial for the radio station, but I do listen to them. I listen to KCBS. I listen to KQED. Those are pretty much my two stations that I listen to, and they have great, from Terry Gross to the game shows. It's fun. It's really fun. And listen to terrestrial radio because it's going to go away if you don't. It's just the truth of the matter. All right, one more quick headline, just because I was cracking up about it. Obviously, they are trying to change the narrative surrounding their idea of surge pricing. Did you hear that to celebrate March Madness, Wendy's surge pricing, then nix that idea, Wendy's, is selling cheeseburgers for $1 all month long. Now, I'm sorry. I think this is such an idea because they got such backlash from the surge pricing. Hands down. They're like, all right, we have to do something to get the people back that are noticing how much you have to spend to get a freaking burger at Wendy's.
Yeah.
I'll also say, I do believe their burgers are one of the things on the cheapest part of their menu. This isn't one of their fancy schmancy burgers. And so, but yeah, for March Madness, you can get $1 cheeseburger, which I would say in this economy at fast food is a pretty good deal. Single quarter pounder patty, cheese, tomato, pickle, lettuce, onion, ketchup, mayo, those sorts of things are going to be on it. So it's the square patty. If you like the square patty, you can get it for $1 all month long at Wendy's.
Boy, did that fly back in their face in a real hurry.
Oh my, it was the worst, stupidest idea ever. Yeah. I mean, I get it. They were like, they never used the term surge pricing. Everyone else did because it sounds exactly what Uber does. It was kind of like, you can't change your prices willy-nilly. And that's the point that people didn't like. They just really, really didn't like the idea of, depending on the time of day, and even although we've seen it already, the location, that I'm going to pay so much more just because of that. No, keep your prices the same. If anything, find out a way, I'm sorry, to make it a lot cheaper. All right, that is our show. We will be back tomorrow. I know. Stay here, though, because Kim's moving on over to the Mark Thompson Show and the After Party Live after that. Okay, so we were going to follow the results of Super Tuesday today. I'm not looking for big surprises in the presidential race, obviously. We will see if Nikki Haley pulls out any or if it's just a clean sweep, but the math isn't mathing for Nikki Haley. So I saw Jim, you voted for. Okay. I would say as a Californian, if you could stop Trump from getting even more of our delegates, that's great, but it's going to be a really hard sell and a hard opportunity for Nikki Haley to make any headway on the Super Tuesday. But get out and vote. Come on, you guys.
Check this headline. Just popped up on CNN.
What?
The California Senate race has topped presidential contest in ad spending thus far.
Well, because it's the only real race that's going on right now. I mean, like in California, of course. So, yeah, you have to get out there and vote. If you have an absentee ballot, it has to be postmarked by today. If you're going to vote in person, just be in line by 8 o'clock. By 8 o'clock, and you can vote. Doesn't matter if it takes longer to get there. So, make your voice heard. Let's not be disappointed in the turnout for tomorrow. Please, guys, if you listen to the show, you should be voting. That's what we do here on the Nikki Maduro Show. All right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, hold on. I want to do some quick thank yous. Thank yous. I want to say thank you to Lady Beatrice for the $5 donation. Pamela, you also came in with $5. Deb, the $50. Thank you so much.
Deb goes wild.
I know. And then Doug also with the $5 super sticker. Doug, love you so much. Thank you guys.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate each and every dollar. All right, we'll see you tomorrow. Get out the vote. Bye.
Bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You sprout like a beautiful blossom. You're all so the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.